And you brought a whole crew of people. I'm so glad we're live. Welcome back, folks. This is House Corrections and Institutions Committee. It's January 28th. We are still working on our capital budget. We have section 9. We're dealing with dam safety. We have line 74. And we also have line 80 with us, which is Fish and Wildlife. Dam maintenance and safety plans, but they're also working with DEC with that. So we're going to start with Ben Green from Department of Environmental Conservation. On line 74, we just need, there's no budget adjustment. We had $500,000 bonds last year, $500,000 bonds for FY27. We've been looking at dams for a long time and the flow of money. So it would be a good opportunity to get caught up on where we are with some of our dam safety program, what we've done so far in the use of this money, but also previous appropriations. So welcome, Ben.
Thank you. Okay to share my screen now?
If you could also identify yourself for the record. Then we're going to do the Waterbury Dam go into depth on that at a separate time. But that's part, you can,
We have some information today as well if there's time.
okay.
Also, for the record, my name is Ben Green. I'm the section chief of the Dam Safety Program in the Department of Environmental Conservation. I'm joined today by Emily Bird, who is the director of the Water Investment Division. Emily Bird took over for Eric Flatt June or July of last year. Also joined by a couple of colleagues from Fish and Wildlife. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. Just going to provide a very brief overview of the Dam Safety Program for those who are not familiar. We're located in the Water Investment Division, as I indicated, and our mission statements listed here. It's a little bit different than others in DEC, and our focus is public safety relative to dams. We have two primary responsibilities, split roughly 50-50, and that's dam regulation and dam ownership. Our current staffing numbers are listed there. It's a bit of an exciting time as our team has grown from the time I've been here 8 years ago from 2 to 4, and now we're trying to get to 9. So our team is growing, our capacity and capabilities are increasing as well. On the regulatory side, we operate under 10 VSA Chapter 43 dams, so we regulate all non-federal, non-power dams in the state. And on the ownership side, we're directly responsible for 14 dams, including the 3 Winooski River flood control dams, Waterbury, Wrightsville, and East Barry, as well as able assisting our sister departments, FPR and Fish and Wildlife, with some of their dam work. Here to mainly talk about the capital proposal, fiscal, kind of go back and look at where we updates on fiscal 23 dollars that we still have that we're working on, fiscal year 26 and 27, and also discuss the capital budget adjustment that we've requested.
Can you say that again? You were talking really fast. What about FY23?
FY 23 dollars that we're still spending down, update from last year, and then where we are with FY 26 and upcoming 27 projects, as well as the capital budget adjustment to section 9 that you refer to the beginning.
So what is being shown up there is just FY 26, 27.
And the this is where it is in the point. This is just a screenshot of those dollar amounts, 500,000 for 26, 500,000 for 27. This is just meant to help you find where I was referring to these things.
Right, but you're still expending money from FY23.
Correct.
I'm trying to remember. I know we have put in money and pulled it back out. So you have FY23, you have FY24, you have FY25 dollars at play, and currently FY26.
I believe it FY 23 and then 26 and 27 dollars in play.
So that's what I need to refresh our memory.
I was going to go through the next line is an updated spreadsheet from the one that we presented last year.
But Right, but what
Along with the project and the status.
what I'd like to know is how much money we put aside in FY '23, how much money we put aside in FY '24, if any, in FY '25. What we allocated. I know it's important to see what you've spent, but we need to know what our starting point was.
Right, so FY '23, the starting point was 3.115. On this next slide. I have some handouts. I can,
It's what you've encumbered. I want to know,
no, that's starting dollar amount. Those are that's the total amount. This is not encumbered or remaining. This is, that is the total amount.
I want to know what, and Scott, maybe you can help us. If you can go back to our spreadsheet for FY '23 and '24, what we authorized. What our starting point was. Because I know we did a lot of work in moving, and there was even money in FY '22.
Go back and you know, it said, I think it was Troy Gina and I. Mostly Gina.
I take it you're looking for that, Scott? Okay. I want to know where we started from. I know I've got it, but it's probably.
Chair, I see in Act 180 of 2022 that dam safety improvements, 3.115 million.
That was for FY '23 and '24.
Correct. This is the final act after the budget adjustments we've done.
Was that all bonds or was there any cash?
I believe this is all bonds. And 22, you wouldn't have seen a cash section. That's true with the cash. That'll be all bonds. Let me go look at the next bill.
Well, the next one would be FY '25, '26.
This is 21, 22. So it'll be FY 22. Calendar year 21 and 22, fiscal year 22 and 23.
Okay. So fiscal year '22, fiscal year '23. There was 3.1 million plus.
Correct.
And then for FY '24 and FY '25.
Looks like dam safety and hydrology projects, 275,000 bonded.
For both years,
Correct.
no cash.
Looks like originally we had first suggested 500,000, then we reduced that to 275.
Because we wanted to make sure the 3.1 got out the door. Okay. So that's our basis. Yep.
So, so the 3.1 is here is for 2 fiscal years, is what you're saying?
FY '22 and FY
Right.
'23.
So just to understand the process of before, so like the next fiscal year was very low, a few hundred
Because
thousand
they weren't getting the 3.1 out
out
the
the door.
door.
Okay, is that normal? Like, is that the normal pattern? Just like trying to level set myself.
Sometimes it is and sometimes it
So
isn't.
it's not
They
a
went
pattern.
through some changes in terms of how the dams are assessed. So then it changed the priority list. And then it was also getting the construction out the door.
Okay,
It's
so
that.
so it really can be hit or miss is what it. There's no consistent dollar amount. It can be very high or very low.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
So Ben, I know on the bottom line here on this, it says the 3.115. I just wanted the basis of where we appropriated the money in previous capitals.
Get that handout if it's helpful, pass it around, like a Gmail, have it printed out, but it's
There we go.
by 17, so.
So let's,
I was prepared to go down line by line and give you an update on
Yeah.
these.
Yeah.
The lines, so starting at the top, the Whitesville Dam Engineering Assessment Project, that project's underway with GEI Consultants.
Same.
Field work is planned for the spring and summer to get that project completed, so that project is underway. Been contracted for the full $500,000.
so what is the difference on the chart between the green and the white?
The green is updates from last year's chart. We presented the same chart
Yep.
all last year. And then the things that changed between last year and this year are highlighted in green.
In the column for FY 23?
And any green on the chart is new or updated information from what was there previously.
So for the Wrightsville Dam,
Yes. The
when you say project kickoff completed, what do you mean by project kickoff completed?
means the project's underway. We're working with GEI actively on the project.
Have you put a shovel in the ground?
No, it's not a shovel in the ground type project, but we are doing geotechnical explorations in the spring, drilling test borings in the dam. Can't do that in the winter, unfortunately.
So when do you anticipate going to construction?
That's not a construction project. It's a preparation project. We're evaluating the dam, doing geotechnical test borings in the dam to better understand the condition of the inner workings of the dam, determine what projects needed next.
So the 500,000 is going towards those test borings.
Test borings and seepage and stability analyses and analyses of the spillway system.
So it's just the analysis of the dam.
Yes.
There's no construction.
No construction related to that at this point in time, no.
And
And
that,
data gaps, we do not have, this is information that we currently do not have, and when we did our risk assessment project, these were data gaps that made the dam rank relatively high in the risk assessment, so we're filling these data gaps to understand, so we can update our risk assessment, understand if this is a project that we need to move forward soon, or is this not less of an issue? It's hinging on collecting this information and understanding what's going on.
so it's more testing.
Yes, and analysis.
And then,
And so after the big flood
Yes,
at Wrightsville, it was up at what, 6 inches before it was going to go over?
energies, yeah.
Did it show any signs of failure?
No, it didn't. The dam performed quite well, all things considered. One thing about flood loading is it's even though it was flood loaded for almost 20 days, which is an extended period of time, that's often not enough time to alter the seepage pattern in the dam. But what we were expecting it on a daily basis during that time period, we did not see deficiencies. However, its sister dam, Waterbury Dam, for which it was constructed very similarly to, has had a lot of seepage issues, and we have a lot of unknowns associated with this dam. So we want to make sure that we understand those and make sure we're not missing a potential risk factor that exists.
Thank you.
okay.
So just to understand this better, so when the hazard class, like for example, says high,
Yes.
so does that mean that there's a high risk that the dam is going to fail, or is it that if the dam failed, that the risk is high?
It's your second one. Dams are classified basically by 3 classifications in the state of Vermont and nationally. A high hazard dam is one if the dam were to fail, loss of life is probable,
Okay.
and probably going to result in loss of life. Significant hazard is a dam that if a dam were to fail, loss of life is not anticipated, but significant property damage. Not to say it's not impossible, but it's not probable. And then a low hazard dam is one. Dam were to fail, essentially consequence would be pretty minimal downstream, maybe some minor property damage.
Appreciate it.
And moving on to next line, we have 6 comprehensive assessment projects that are underway: Crystal Lake, Kent Pond, Lowell Lake, the 2 Knapp Pond sites, and Colton Pond. These projects are under contract with 3 separate firms, each firm doing 2. All the firms doing 2 except for one firm doing one of the dams. And that work is underway as well. That's part of our workflow and our planning is the comprehensive assessment is the first step. After risk assessment, then we have comprehensive assessment, then we have design, then we have construction. So these are in the assessment stage. I'm going to have a slide a little later on that explains that workflow in more detail. One change that was made here was that we moved, we had $130,000 of this, money taken from fiscal year 26. Due to the pace of this project versus a different one, we've moved those dollars into fiscal year 23. So that's the adjustment that we've made there. The $1,130,182 are now on fiscal year 23.
Say that again, you've pulled 130 from
So
FY.
in our previous years, if it's helpful, the next slide, the next page in your packet shows last year's report. We were originally planning to pull $1 million from fiscal year 23 to fund this and $130,000 from fiscal year 26. Due to the pacing of this project versus another one, we've moved, basically we're going to take the $1,130,000 out of fiscal year 23 to complete this project. So that's the move that we've made. We're going to do the pacing of the projects.
I didn't follow you on this one. So you had $1 million in FY 23 and you're pulling 130 from FY 26.
This was the last year's presented table.
Right.
Looks exactly the same. These are the 6 comprehensive assessments. Last year we had $1 million in fiscal year 23 dollars, and we're going to fund the remainder with fiscal year 26 at 130,000. Due to the pacing of the project, we're proposing to, and we said, use the 130 of fiscal year 23 dollars instead. So we're not going to use fiscal year 26, and we move down here that does the reverse of that.
We found enough money in FY 23 to cover that 130,000,
Yes, essentially.
which then frees up that 130,000 FY 26 for other projects.
Correct. So the next line down from the comprehensive assessments is the Noise Pond Dam final design, engineering and permitting. This project is under contract with Par Engineering. It's well underway. Floodway permitting is nearly complete, and our 60% design is nearly complete. So far to date, roughly $64,000 has been invoiced, and we're anticipating another sizable invoice soon. This project was budgeted to be paid for fiscal year 23, and that's what we're doing. We're looking through the project.
So when are you putting a shovel in the ground?
The design will be completed this summer, and we were originally hoping to get funding for next construction season, but that's unfortunately not going to be available. So it's probably going to have to wait a year. And during next year's capital request, you will see roughly a $1.8 million project on there for Noise Pond Dam construction.
So you're anticipating going to construction during FY 28. It would be next year, capital bill, calendar year
It
27.
would be following year for construction probably, because we have to bid the project and to actually do the construction. But we'll have bid ready documents essentially ready for construction at the end of calendar year 26, end of this year. In the perfect world, we would have had the construction money and put out to bid this fall and gone to construction next year. We're going to be requesting
Next year.
funds next year and having to do construction the following year.
And how much are you anticipating again for construction then?
Right now, the estimate's 1.8 million. Next line is Gale Meadows Dam and Dike Comprehensive Assessment. This project was performed in cooperation with Fish and Wildlife, who owns the dam, through a memorandum of agreement. GZA was the engineer, and that project's largely completed. To date, we've received invoicing for about $42,000 of that, and they're anticipating the remaining will be invoiced by Fish and Wildlife in the coming months as the accounts are settled. So that project's largely done, and very shortly that will hopefully be zeroed out or near zeroed out. 199,765, no changes there.
So the 157,000 plus is going to be billed by Fish and Wildlife?
Fish and Wildlife hired the engineer and paid directly, and then through most memorandum agreement, we helped them with backfilling Fish and Wildlife for that work. As a way to get that.
So it's coming out of your budget
Correct,
for Fish and Wildlife Dam.
correct,
It's not connected to their request on line 80.
correct. The next project down the list is Wrightsville Dam Flood Operations Flexibility Study. This is a study we've been talking about for a while, and actually was born from the July 23 flood at Wrightsville, where we got within 10 inches of the spillway. shortly after that flood, we wrote to the Army Corps of Engineers and requested assistance. We were sort of put in the program of the public assistance to the state program. And as you may recall, last year when we met in March, it was not clear if we were going to get into that program or not. And we had set a date of July of last year of if we get into the program, then we're going to go with the Corps and we're going to get 50% match. We're going to be able to turn out 350 into 700 for the work. Or if we don't get into the Corps program by July, we're going to go at it alone. You may recall that. Come July, we got into the program, we got accepted, and of course, it indicated the agreement should be available by October or November of last fall. Fortunately, we got to October, November of last fall with the upheaval at the federal level. There was not adequate funding for their portion of the project. So we met with DEC management, who made the decision that we would basically wait the Corps out till March. And if we don't hear from them by March, then we were going to go at it alone, just as we had the previous plan. But the good news is the Corps actually contacted us a few weeks ago, and they have the money in place and they're ready to move forward. An agreement has to be signed no later than February 13th. So that project's going to be starting very soon, and that is a pay upfront project. So that $350,000 is going to be paid upfront to the Corps. That project will be moving forward.
When's the date?
February 13th, 26th. We have to have that agreement signed with the Corps. Everything's in order to meet that date.
Great news.
That's really good news.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a little bit slower than we had really wished, but we're getting there. The next one on the line is DEC dams instrumentation, installation, and startup. That project is under design, and that design is due to be completed in March of 26, at which point we're going to turn around and bid out those designs for implementation this construction season. One change noted here is that this was originally a $400,000 budgeted item, and you'll see 350 in that column now. And that is because we had an overrun on another project that I'll get to in a moment. And we've sort of taken funds that were originally allocated for instrumentation to cover that overrun. That's part of the budget adjustment ask. So that project has kind of been reduced to $350,000, but we're hopeful to get the budget adjustment so we can refill it and be able to complete that project.
I'm curious when you say get the budget adjustment, what are you referring to? Because we don't have any budget adjustment for DEC dam safety projects. We have $500 million
100,000.
bonded.
Well, that's fishing.
No, it's not 150,000.
That is
Fine.
Waterbury.
70, yeah.
150,000.
Waterbury. There's nothing on line 74 for budget adjustment. We have $500,000.
It's at line 75, DEC Waterbury Dam Penstock project with cost overruns. 150,000. Line 75.
So this, so part of that 150,000, does that go to the Waterbury Dam or not?
Part of it's going to go to, yes, but part of it's going to backfill money that was taken out of the instrumentation project to cover cost overruns of that construction. The part of it's going to go to pay for work at Waterbury, and part of it's going to go to hopefully put $400,000 back into the instrumentation projects when we bid that out this spring.
So of the 150 that's being requested, line 75,
Yes,
Waterbury Dam, 50,000 of that is going to make the 350 here whole.
yes, but 50 has been taken from the instrumentation. So the 150 really is for Waterbury. It's just we use the money from the instrument, $50,000 from the instrumentation project to keep that project moving. So $150,000 is ultimately for Waterbury. However, we didn't have, in order to keep that project moving, we used the capital funds that were originally allocated for the instrumentation project, to keep that project moving. So when we get the 150, hopefully we'll finish this. We'll settle out the Waterbury project, which will be completed this spring, and then we'll hopefully have the money to backfill the instrumentation dollars.
But you said the instrumentation should be at 400,000, not 350.
Right.
So my question is 150,000 that's being asked in budget adjustment for the
Yes.
Waterbury Dam.
Correct.
So to make the instrument, to make this line whole, the instrumentation line whole, you're pulling 50 from that new 150.
Yes, but money was pulled from instrumentation to work on Waterbury, so we're essentially putting it back, so it's the same.
Already pulled? Yeah.
It's already,
They took it from the
Cause they
floor
already did it.
to put the Waterbury, and now they're gonna take the Waterbury money, put it back in. So
Right.
this moved to 50, like borrowed 50 and they're paying back 50.
well, that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
but there's 150 total for Waterbury.
Right, because it's more,
50 is gonna be used to backfill.
50 is gonna use a backfill money that was already spent, and then 100 is gonna cover the additional things that go above the 50. So $150,000 at Waterbury.
Holly?
May also just support Ben on this one. The exact costs of how those overruns are going to settle are still unknown because the work is still underway. We're doing the final billing and invoicing under the tunnel and penstock project. So we wanted to be conservative to make sure that we're able to cover anticipated overruns. We already know that there's $50,000 in overruns, but there's likely to be more. And Ben will get into it in a slide coming on some of the complications that were encountered
For the Waterbury Dam.
for the Waterbury Dam. Yep.
Yeah. I'm having a hard time following this one, but okay, as long as the committee's on
Yeah.
board and understands it. Do members of the committee understand this, or am I the only having a hard time?
So we had the 400,000, this is the previous year's one that we presented last year.
400.
400,000 was in the instrumentation project. So now we have 350 in the instrumentation project. And you'll see down here, a requested budget adjustment, Waterbury Dam Tunnel and Penstock. You'll see, we've brought the 50 from there down to here.
Yeah,
We have a request, then it gets a budget adjustment request.
right. So I'm just saying, of the 150 that's here on our spreadsheet, 50 of that is going to backfill to make 400,000.
Yes,
That's what I'm saying. And the 100,000 that's left is going to stay with the Waterbury Dam. Right.
correct.
That's what I was thinking from the get-go.
Apologies.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that was my question. I'm not really following it either in that I don't see the 400,000 spreadsheet.
Cause it's on the old.
It's on the
It's on
old
the-
year. It's FY 23.
The old, previous year's the next page, 400,000 from the previous year.
Oh, it's on
15 like
this.
And then the updated one, that's
Yeah. There you go. So
There
they
it
pulled 50,000 from that 400. So of the 150 that's being asked for Waterbury Dam, 100 of that's for the Waterbury Dam, 50,000's to backfill that 350.
Kevin says it's fungible. He just said that.
Just move money around.
Yeah.
The next project on our list is the Silver Lake Dam final design, permitting and construction project. That project is currently an RFP. And this is part of that shift comes into place is fiscal year 23 is only using a couple $1,000s of available money. And then the majority of that, is being funded out of the fiscal year, $26. And that will hopefully, that's right now in going through final legal reviews to put that RFP out to bid. So hopefully that will be out to bid in the next few weeks. The next two lines are fiscal year 27 projects. And we have allocated or planned Kent Pond Dam final design and Lowell Lake Dam final design for $250,000 each. Kind of with the pace of some of the projects, we'll be tracking that. And if we have changes from those projects, we can certainly alert the committee, but that's what we have there now. And then the next line down is the requested budget adjustment Waterbury Dam Tunnel and Penstock project. And we reviewed this already, but this has the additional asking for the 150 to backfill the instrumentation project and complete the Waterbury Dam Tunnel and Penstock project. I have a slide coming up that will provide additional information about that. And then the final line, which is new, is, $35,000, which is allocated to DEC staff services, which is spent on agency facilities, which is a program within Water Investment Division that's in a way like an internal engineering group within DEC. And they have helped us administer some construction projects this year, including like Paramount Dam, and then some other capital eligible work. And so that shows up in fiscal 23.
So this is paying for staff that's doing the engineering work to support all of these other dams.
Not all of them, but yeah, some assist, work, and they're their own separate program from us, and they also do work for Fish and Wildlife and other A&R.
Do the staff members who are working on providing the engineering back and the documents for this, are they working on other items that are not funded through the capital bill? Other projects?
They work on a wide variety of projects. I don't know if I can speak to everything they work on.
They work on a wide variety of projects across multiple departments in A&R. And most of the projects, I believe, are capital funded, but there are also other funding sources that the departments draw down. So they're an in-house engineering group that can do direct capital engineering and construction oversight.
So this is a new add-on. Has the capital bill paid for staff before to do engineering work?
Only in very narrow circumstances where we have engineers on staff that are directly working on design and implementation of capital projects. And that comes generally at a savings versus outsourcing to consultant engineers to do that same body of work. So in very narrow eligibility to make sure that they're doing direct work on capital project implementation.
So this staff services and DEC as narrow as what you just explained for this 35,000, because bonded dollars cannot be used to pay staff.
Yes,
But it's connected to a project, so that's the nexus, but we have to make sure it's very, very narrow and that those staff members are not being used for other items within the department or agencies, and we're supporting their salary through the capital bill.
the only cases where their time is coded to capital funds is when they're doing direct work on a capital funded project and not generally to cover salary for department staff.
Because bonded dollars cannot be used for operating expenses or for paying staff unless it's a real narrow, they're doing the engineering for those specific capital projects.
Exactly.
So this is a new topic for a lot of members here.
Yeah, I don't think I totally understand. So are they like limited service positions? It's,
No, they're permanent positions.
Yeah.
It's a team called Agency Facilities Engineering. They've been around for decades as far as I know, and it's a team of in-house engineers and technicians, and they do survey, design, and construction oversight work directly on behalf of A&R facilities. So they do a lot of work for city parks, for fish and wildlife boat launch areas, for the dams that DEC owns. And they really are like an in-house engineering consultant group that were able to tap into their capacity and expertise to move a lot of projects through the agency.
so they're contractors though, right? They're not
They're actually,
classified employees?
they are classified employees.
Yeah, okay.
I apologize for saying in-house consulting because
Right, okay.
that was probably not the right choice of words. They are classified A&R employees who are doing direct engineering support for implementation projects. So
Yeah.
they'll work on dams. They do quite a bit of work on boat launch program. Also state parks, water, drinking water and wastewater infrastructure. They do quite a bit of work on that. And they also support some of the work for our sibling departments to meet the 3-acre stormwater permit requirements as well. So direct engineering on specific projects, and they code their time accordingly.
That's,
Yeah,
I trust you, but $35,000 for engineers is peanuts. How many people are we talking about? I mean,
this is specific for
it's
dams.
coded.
well, I understand that, but that it must be very specific activity within the engineering, because $35,000 worth of effort is nothing when you're paying for engineering.
That's correct. So that 35K is roughly what we anticipate that team will do to support the dam safety program infrastructure
Yeah.
projects. So over the last year example, they had a pretty big role to play with the Lake Carmi Dam project construction. And so that's an example, they quoted, I think about 18K of their
Yeah,
time to support that project specifically.
It's not all their time or they're
No.
it's specific to specific projects. So it's like just, it could be like, say, a week's worth of work on something.
I hear you. It's so small that I must be very focused. Okay.
So this is new. We haven't seen this before. You're putting it towards FY 23 work. So where did the money come from before? Through the general fund?
So I believe that the time that agency facilities has supported projects has been accounted for in the past, but this is new for us to pull it out as its own line item in our spending plan for these dollars, but we wanted to make sure that we were transparent about those dollars and that the bottom line on Ben's spreadsheet adds up to the total appropriated amounts.
How much of a coincidence? 35,000. I'm just wondering, we haven't seen this before. We've seen it in BGS when we used to pick up the engineering costs. When it used to be picked up by the general fund. When the general fund got in trouble, we ended up picking that up. Now the money's gone back to general fund. And I'm just wondering with this has popped up. I know it's 35,000. You want to be transparent, but I'm wondering were the dollars taken out of your general fund operating budgets prior to this?
My understanding, and I am relatively new taking over some of this support work for Eric Blatt, but my understanding is that the agency facilities team, their staff time is coded to a number of different funding sources. But historically, whenever they are doing work directly on a capital bill supported project, that there has been some allocation to their time to support that work. And would be happy to do some more follow-up if there's more questions around that, but we certainly understand the capital eligibility and the need for there to be a direct connection to specific projects that are under engineering and construction.
And the 35,000 just makes it equal to 3.115 million. It's a little bit too much of a coincidence for me. And I just kind of wonder about it. If it's a shift to the capital bill, if we're gonna see this in other projects in DEC that we haven't seen. Just wondering if it's pushed to the capital bill versus the general fund operating budgets of respective departments. Right?
This seems akin to something we did a year ago, rural fire suppression, but I cannot remember the outcome.
They pay for the engineering costs upstairs that were in approps, wherever the committee is now.
I don't know what
We
the
pay,
downstairs-
yeah, downstairs, we pay for the actual infrastructure and parts, but the engineering comes out of general fund. Capital dollars, you have to be really careful that you're not paying staff.
Because there was a position in, and that's what I couldn't remember is if it got
Project.
pulled out, yeah.
Hmm?
I believe there was a position in, and I could not remember if it got pulled out because we talked about it at this table, but I can't.
It was the dry hydrant
Yeah.
seating part.
And that was like the veterans home when they wanted a position for, the farming they were going to do. There was a project, they wanted it for a position and we pulled that as well.
We just have to be careful.
So once you open that can of worms.
James?
If it would be preferred, we could also, we pulled that out for tracking purposes, but all of those dollars will go to support other projects in the pipeline. And so it could be embedded within the project costs as well. That's really, it's not so much a change in practice and pushing more pressure onto the capital bill. It was just how we are trying to present it to make sure we're transparent about that with them.
James and the
James
James and then Kevin.
So what I'm hearing you say, I have no way of knowing this, but what I'm hearing you say is that the 35,000 has always been billed in this way. It's just always been incorporated into the cost of whatever project, say the Wrightfield Dam or whatever, just built into the thing. And now you're making an attempt to separate it out to show it for transparency. Again, I don't know if this is true or not. I'm just like, is that what I'm hearing you say? Okay. And you have an ability to kind of show that to us in some way. You're highlighting.
Yep, the
Okay.
agency facilities team, when they do their time sheets, they code to specific projects. And so we can go back and itemize how those dollars are being used at the specific project level.
And I also want to say that I wasn't saying that's not how it's happening. I just wanted to clarify that that's what I was hearing. So thank you.
For the opportunity to clarify.
Kevin?
And I don't know whether this is helpful, but I could understand if there was a very specialized piece of equipment that Vermont does not have within your engineering group. And these people supply a particular test with that equipment. And it's $2,000 for each test times 17 tests. That would make sense for $35,000. Because it's necessary for the assessment, all these different assessments, and you don't have the ability, so you have to pay for it. It sounds like that's the kind of thing it is, but I don't know. I'm wondering if that helps.
Yeah, there's a whole range of engineering needs related to supporting the dams that we own and operate. And some of those engineering, some of that engineering work and services can be provided in-house, and some of it needs to be outsourced. So that's why you'll see in some cases, like for example, the assessments, those are outsourced to external engineering consultants. And then some of the work, especially when it involves doing project design and construction oversight, our agency facilities team can support directly without us outsourcing to external engineering consultants. And so it's a mix project by project, what services they can provide. But it has proven to be, I think, a pretty efficient partnership and saves us some resources overall. But happy to do some more follow-up on this if there's concerns or questions. And apologies for any confusion that this may have raised.
I can just say that as our program, we use them pretty sparingly. Their specialty is not dam safety particularly. They do have engineering skills that at times are helpful and useful for us, but so we use them quite sparingly, but we do use them on when we can and when it makes sense and when their schedules line up with our projects and their skill set lines up with what we need, which is,
Maybe simply seeing the definition of the code, why they charge that particular. Maybe that would help us understand.
This is paying salaries for state employees. And it is connected to the time that they spend on these particular dam projects. It's paying the salaries.
So salary, and also they have specialized survey equipment that sometimes is also brought to the projects. So we.
It's kind of 35,000 brings it equal to 3,115,000. It's not 30,000 or 40,000. Just a
Probably.
comment.
Yeah, it might be more of a discussion when we get into it, but isn't it just cleaner to do it with cash? Since we're moving a lot to cash anyways.
Yeah, instead of bonded
Yeah.
dollars. Because cash can be used for that. Bonded dollars, you have to be careful.
We'll be doing some shuffling anyways, so, yeah.
that includes review of the spreadsheet. The next couple slides I have, the next slide is just to review that requested budget adjustment on line 75, the 150,000. Exactly we're doing with that. As I mentioned before, the project is the Waterbury Dam Tunnel and Penstock project. The budget for that project is approximately 1.8 million. That includes engineering and contractors. And the requested budget adjustment is $150,000. I've already talked about how that's come to be. But just to give you a sense of some of the cost overruns, why the fall drought resulted in a delay of this project. Usually the dry weather is a great time to be doing dam projects, but unfortunately on this project, since we're working on the tunnel in Penstocks that normally conveys water from the reservoir to the downstream channel, we had to, shut the head gate and have that be dry. And so we have to move water around the site a different way. And so we have to push water through our spillway, which is a higher elevation. So we had, during the drought, we actually had to raise the reservoir level. So while every other pond in the state was going down, Waterbury unfortunately was slowly going up, and that delayed us. That put us unfortunately into a very snowy and cold December doing a lot of this work. We were supposed to be out of there well before, and we were hoping for a mild December, and that unfortunately didn't come to what passed. So we had costs associated with snow and ice removal. Keep in mind, this project was cleaning the interior of our penstocks and tunnels. So we have clean water getting pumped in and wastewater being pumped out. And we're separating it in frac tanks out in the yard. And that's what that picture kind of shows. So we have a lot of water and very cold conditions. So it was a lot of hardships related to that. We had costs associated with heating blankets and trying to keep water lines clear and unfrozen. It slowed production. Even right now, we're unable to completely unfreeze our tanks. So while they're supposed to be off site by now, as the cleaning got completed recently, they're still on site and are going to probably be there till spring when they thaw out. And we can do kind of the final cleanup and get them off site.
Are you paying rent on those?
We're not thankfully paying rent.
Okay, good.
But they are still there and they still need to be managed, and
Yeah.
water and wastewater needs to be managed and needs to be getting off site. We negotiated that out, but we can't negotiate out everything, unfortunately.
Mhm.
Additional inspection, during the inspection of the penstocks, which is really and tunnels, which is really the most important element of the whole project. That's why we cleaned them, was to do a thorough inspection, thorough evaluation of this infrastructure that's over 80 years old. We found some unexpected conditions in the penstocks. It extended the duration. Every time we enter the penstock, it's through confined space entry, so there's costs associated with that. We had to do some additional preparation of the interior of the penstocks and testing of the welds that hold the penstocks together. There's a very expected configuration for the welds on a penstock of that era, and these were actually different and unexpected. So we need to spend some additional money on preparation and testing of those welds. And then lastly, part of this project as well was servicing our actuators on two of our valves. The actuators are actually the mechanisms that operate the valves. These have not been serviced since original installation in 1985, and they're in logistically difficult locations. And when we got them off and got them shipped out to the Midwest where they're rebuilt, there was took a little bit more than we initially hoped to do the work that was needed on those, and there's still one to go. So those were the reason for the.
So for these cost overruns all come in at about 100,000.
150 is what we have budgeted. We have the associated with the, I think we have like 25 associated with winter conditions right now. We're waiting for the updated information on the inspection work. And then one of the actuators used all of the budget. So I don't have that number on top of my head, but the other actuator is going to need additional funds. And we think 150 will cover it. We have some conservatism there because we don't have all the numbers.
We're using 50,000 of that to backfill the instrumentation. So you're left with 100.
Yeah. To complete those items.
That was my question. Is 100 going to cover the cost overruns?
Yes, hopefully 100 will cover it, and hopefully we've been conservative and there's going to be a little bit left over. But we're still waiting for some of the numbers to come in, so I can't give you a hard firm number to what it is. The project's still ongoing and it's not going to be completed till the spring.
So it could come in at more than 100.
Yes, we come in at more than 100, but I don't believe it's going to come in at more than 150. I think that's a safe number.
Okay. I feel like I'm going around in circles here. Help me, committee. I'm missing something.
The 150.
50 is going to go, of the 150, 50 is going to be back going to the instrumentation project. So that leaves 100,000 for these cost overruns. And my question was, is 100,000 going to cover these cost overruns for the Waterbury Dam?
They borrowed the 50 to put toward it already.
But so you're minus 50.
Yes, $100,000 is going to be enough to cover the rest of it.
100,000 going to cover the cost overruns.
It absolutely should. There's some conservatism there, and hopefully there'll be some left over, but we don't have all the numbers right now to show you the exact number.
So I was focused on 100,000.
Understood.
Just on a fun note, I learned what a penstock is today by AI. I was going to ask you, and I was like, what in God's name is a penstock?
So we're going to have a whole presentation at some point next week or some point on the Waterbury Dam.
Mhm.
Because this has been a long process over the last 5 years. It really involves the Army Corps of Engineer. The bulk of the money is coming from the Army Corps, but we've had to put state monies as well, particularly for the design, the study and the design documents.
That's for the spillway project, which is related but different than this project. It's a very large facility. It's the third largest dam in the state, the largest state-owned dam. 187 foot tall, over 2,000 feet long. So it's a big facility and there's a lot going on there. I'm sorry.
Ben, could you remind me, we were talking about last year, what's the contract with Green Mountain Power like there? It seemed like there was like a long-standing deal that they sort of benefit, but aren't necessarily on the hook for the costs of maintaining, right? It's
In basic,
like, yeah, remind me what I,
correct. In basic terms, they owned the property where the dam site is located prior to construction. And so they essentially procured water rights in perpetuity by donating the property to the state so the project could be built. So they have a very favorable deal.
it's a good deal.
I guess they had to give up a pretty desirable real estate for a hydro project, but it's a good deal for them, I would say.
Yeah.
This next slide is just to help you envision kind of what our dam safety program workflow is for dam rehabilitation projects. We start with that portfolio risk assessment, which we finished back in 2024 of 18 high and significant hazard dams. That kind of set our priority list by risk of the dams that we need to be working on. The next step after that is comprehensive assessment. That is a detailed study of the dam that includes engineering study, hydrology, hydraulics, geotechnical, structural engineering, and most importantly, it develops alternatives to bring the dam into compliance with upcoming rules and basically increase the service life of the dam. And then from the comprehensive assessment, ultimately you select an alternative to move forward to final design and permitting. And again, the projects are in these steps are listed below. Move to final design and permitting. We have Noise Pond Dam in that step and a couple going to RFP shortly on that. And then next you move to rehabilitation, construction, and actually make those changes in the field. And essentially that dam sort of goes, for lack of a better term, back to the bottom of the list and we continue to move forward. So our goal is to have projects in each one of these buckets every single year, and at least one hopefully in rehabilitation construction. And Noise Pond Dam is the next large rehabilitation project. That's the $1.8 million that will be asked for in the future. And then our goal is to have Silver Lake next, and then probably Gale Meadows after that. And then in time, Kent Pond and Lowell Lake will move to final design, and then we'll get other projects that run from the risk assessment, move those to comprehensive. And in a way, as you can see, there's almost 8 or 9 projects in comprehensive assessment. Those are all going to be lined up for design and construction. So in a way, we can kind of move these through, ideally move this through so we have enough construction money each year to be addressing one project. It's almost a 10-year plan right here, just as what you see. So
Cool. Who does the work? Is it a Vermont company?
engineering work.
Well, the both.
Yeah, the construction work is on most of these smaller dams is usually a Vermont-based contractor. The engineering work, it depends. We do contract both with Vermont-based firms and ones that are more regional as well. Kind of depends on the complexity of the project and what the strengths of the individual firms are.
Thanks, man.
This next slide is just to discuss briefly some working towards some continuous process improvements. Challenges that we do have kind of pushing these projects along is the time and resources that we spend moving multiple very similar contracts through the whole process of RFP, contractor selection, the contract negotiations and execution. We also have challenges moving engineering contracts, particularly through legal, because there's often legal issues associated with liability, insurance, and other issues that require quite a bit of back and forth between various legal teams and the contractor. So one couple of opportunities that we have is we're in the process right now, we're very close to putting on RFP for dam-specific engineer retainer contracts. This has been something we've been trying to figure out for a while, and we're very close to having this in place. Basically will allow us to pre-select qualified engineers and then basically execute a simple purchase order to quickly and efficiently get them onto the project. Because the contract and legal language and other term issues will only have to be negotiated at the time of the retainer, so once every 4 years. So it'll allow us to have a pool of multiple skilled engineers that we can much more quickly move from concept to project with. So that's exciting. Hopefully that RFP will be going out very soon. That's in final legal review. And then otherwise, we also have our DSP staffing as we continue to work to staff up to the total of 9. We're at 7 right now. We have an opening engineering position and an opening management position, but our capabilities are increasing with that.
And for that increase in staffing, is that being recommended in the FY 27 state budget? Or is that previous approach?
That's previous, that's already here.
It's already here.
We have those 2 positions. We've been trying to hire the engineer for quite a while, just have difficulty filling engineer positions that are not entry level. And the other is a project manager position who we brought a project manager on board this time or a little later than this time last year. Actually got some overlap with Eric that was really great. And then unfortunately he resigned recently to take his dream job over in Lincoln, New Hampshire. So we're back to trying to fill that position.
So what's difficult about hiring engineers?
It's challenging to compete with consulting engineers in terms of flexibility they can offer and salary and benefits they can offer compared to what we can at the state. We've been losing out to firms that provide sizable signing bonuses and benefits. And I think as a whole, post-COVID, we've seen the engineering community, the consultant engineering community really up their game as to what they allow and what they're paying and what benefits they're getting. And fortunately, widen the gap.
State can't compete.
It's difficult to compete to find
Their
qualified
salaries.
engineers at the salaries we can offer and the flexibility we can offer.
But we have no paved roads and no housing and stuff, so we have those things to sell.
That concludes the support portion of the presentation. I know the gentlemen need to go as well. We did have some slides on Waterbury, if you guys care to continue or.
I'd rather do all of Waterbury on its own, because that's a whole different piece.
The photos are really helpful though. To see the inside of it is really kind of cool. It's fascinating. How big the pipes and stuff are. You know, the doorway that you fixed and it's really cool.
Because this committee, it was a number of years ago, got a real in-depth review of the Waterbury Dam.
Spillway project.
Yeah.
I would say in the last, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to offer in the last calendar year, progress has somewhat slowed on that project. What we have to report is not particularly expansive with the Corps has had with the uncertainty at the Corps. Their pace on the project slowed a little bit as they lost a lot of staff. And so, yeah, I mean, certainly there's been progress made since last year, but it's not as grand as other years. And
why did they lose so much staff? Was it just?
I think they were offered, they were downsized and they were offered this retirement program and they lost a tremendous amount of their capacity that they had a hard time backfilling. So.
Well, Ben, first off, thanks very much for helping me communicate some of this language to my constituents over the summer. It was very helpful. And I think, people in flood impacted communities are really grateful for the work you guys are doing. And, it's good to hear from the department. I have just kind of a tangent question and it might not be a fair one, but, we got 3 different departments owning dams under A&R, which seems to create different levels of bureaucracy. And, what's the rationale for that? I'm sure, I know they have different purposes and everything, but wouldn't it just be easier to have it all under one umbrella? And
I think
I feel like this is a sensitive subject, maybe.
answering, I guess I can answer the question from where I stand at my level. There's certainly some challenges. I think probably the original reason is because many of the forest parks and recreation owned dams are at state parks. And many of the fish and wildlife dams are associated with wildlife management areas and other resources like that. And then DEC, ultimately, we have the flood control dams. And yet we do own one of our Noise Pond Dam is at Salem Lodge State Park. So it's not entirely clear why it was done that way. I think as an agency, we recognize, particularly with upcoming dam safety rules, increasing requirements on dams and being combined all 3 of the largest single dam owner in the state, a real need to probably better pool resources and kind of more efficient planning for our dams. And I think we've had a few fits and starts on kind of how to do that. We're sort of working through it, but we're not quite there yet. So I think we hear what you're saying. We don't disagree. And we're trying to attack the problem as we can, as we're able. You guys have a different opinion on that.
That's a good transition to Fish and Wildlife. So I don't know if both of you want to come up or one of you, but I know DEC's also sort of in the mix here with Fish and Wildlife on these dams or not.
So like therein lies some of the challenges of like when we have money available and capacity available, we assist sister departments. We don't always have that capability. So sometimes they go at it alone. Sometimes we assist them. Gale Meadows is a great example. That project, the auxiliary spillway, nearly failed the dam during July 23 flood. A staff member of mine actually and worked with agency facilities. They surveyed the spillway and did an emergency design and implemented it with a contractor that Fish and Wildlife hired. And then Fish and Wildlife moved on to the comprehensive assessment project, which we helped them fund. And now they're moving on to design. We've sort of helping them in and out kind of as available and as money is available, staffing and resources are available.
Move money between the two.
There's not like a formal way that this is done across the board where, and the amount of assistance we're able to provide is variable on a bunch of factors. So.
Well, let's transition to Fish and Wildlife. If both of you want to come up, this is line 80 on the spreadsheet. This is a new request, 200,000 in cash for development of dam maintenance and safety plans for those dams that are owned by Fish and Wildlife. So whomever wants to come up, not even go to Mike's last name. I'm even gonna try. McRowski. Well, Tim Appleton, well, that's.
For the record, my name is Tim Appleton. I'm the public lands section chief in the Lands and Habitat Program in the Wildlife Division, Fish and Wildlife Department, Agency of Natural Resources. Thanks for the opportunity to be here to talk about line item number 80 in the capital adjustment. And I'm here to take the committee's questions and try to attempt to provide some clarity on some of the questions that have already been posed.
You probably got scared. What's the 200,000 proposed to be used for?
Yeah, so we're hoping to acquire the $200,000 to help the Department of Fish and Wildlife with the dams that we own, which is approximately about 76 dams. And to with the dam safety rule, when it was enacted, it's Act 161, was enacted in 2018. That brought to light some heightened awareness of our responsibilities as a dam owner. And so we began to assess our responsibilities and really come to grips with what that means. And one of them, well, there's several of them. One aspect was to begin to address the backlog of maintenance issues that we have on all of our dams. And also to meet the requirement of each dam having an operations and maintenance plan, an O&M plan is what we refer to it. And lastly, for those dams that have been determined through inspection reports to have a hazard rating of either high or significant, which in terms means that if those dams fail, there's significant implications to life and property. Those would require development of and what we refer to as an EAP or an emergency action plan. We from Fish and Wildlife, we're not up to current standards on development of those types of plans. So we're hoping that 200,000 would allow us to hire a consultant to get us up to speed and be in compliance. Phase 2 of Act 161 will take place in July 1st of this year, which is more of the regulatory aspect of the act. And so we're trying to demonstrate a good faith effort as a department to come into compliance with Act 160.
So the 200,000 is to go towards the emergency action plan?
Yes, to the extent that we can cover them. If there's anything beyond that, we will direct it to the operations and maintenance.
You'll direct it to operation and maintenance.
Operation and maintenance plans, O&M plans. So each dam is required to have an operations and maintenance plan.
So have you been doing that for each dam?
We have not, unfortunately.
So the 200,000 would cover you doing an emergency action plan. And if there's money left over from that, you would do the operation and maintenance plan.
Correct. I think the highest priority would be to establish the plans for our significant and high hazard dams to get those emergency action plans.
For your, right, you would do that for your significant and high hazard. And if there's any money left over of the 200,000 after you've done the EAPs, then it would go to the O&M.
Correct.
And if there isn't any money left over, then what's the plan for O&M plans?
It's unsure at this time. We'll just have to keep advocating to find funds either through capital appropriation or other means to address our needs as a dam owner.
So it could be future requests for the capital.
Correct.
Sorry?
You said the 200K was at least in part, or can you articulate how much of that is for this consultant? And do you have a contract in place for a consultant?
No, this is a relatively new opportunity for us. So we haven't done any planning or any we didn't do any work ahead of time because we weren't sure we were going to.
So what's the consultant for?
The consultant would actually develop the plans and create a plan for each individual dam.
And based on like the regulations that they have to follow.
Correct. And we would work with Ben
Specialized, yeah.
and the dam safety program to make sure we incorporate all the elements that are required in each plan.
Okay, great.
So when the act was implemented, we didn't give you any money. That's what I'm hearing. We gave you a requirement, but no funding to accomplish it.
Essentially correct. Yeah. I mean, I can elaborate on my perspective as an employee for 3 decades on how we got to this point, if you're interested.
Sure.
Fair. I mean, the department is primarily comprised of biologists, and we have, expertise toward managing wildlife and fisheries habitats and species. So we also own a variety of dams, both for fisheries purposes and for wildlife purposes, that have a manifestation of historic decisions and programs. For better or worse, a lot of our required, either we didn't understand our obligations as a dam owner, and it wasn't until the enactment of the dam safety rule in 2018 that all of a sudden we had an aha moment. And we realized, oh my gosh, we're really behind. We got to up the ante and step up to our responsibilities as a dam owner. And so working with the dam safety program, we've determined which dams are have a certain hazard rating. So we're trying to deal with those first, and then also with maintenance and to this, as we speak, staff are implementing maintenance work on our dams now to just get the ball rolling and meet our obligations. So things like cutting back trees and brushing, mowing of the dam itself and of the dam footprint and 15 feet beyond that. Any kind of riprap, erosion control, things that we need that we've neglected. So we're actually starting to do that with the funds that we have. But we don't have enough capacity to develop the plans that are required under the dam safety rules. So we're hoping to. Hence our application for the 200K.
So the Fish and Wildlife budget, a lot of your budget, you don't give very much general fund operating money. A lot of your operating money comes through licensing. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, and I have to be careful because I'm not one to speak on the entire budget. But yes, in a general sense, yes.
So when we're putting together our general fund budget, and yes, this is a requirement, quite often, because we don't want to increase taxes and we don't want to increase our budgets, we ask departments to absorb these costs within their current appropriations. That happens a lot because there's the constant pressure. We don't want to increase staffing. We don't want to increase the state employees because it's going to cost too much money in the budget. We don't want to raise taxes or keep it at a minimum, but we also need to provide the services. So quite often in the whole budgeting scheme, we ask the department to absorb those costs within their operating costs. So I'm just putting that out on the table because that happens a lot in the budgeting because we don't have money to go around. So we ask the departments or agencies to move money around and absorb that within your operating costs. So now this has really raised, it's come up to the surface that you really need to develop a plan in terms of how you're going to address your needs.
Yeah.
Sean?
Is there some scale with the 76, dams? Are they able to kind of like, do they go see every one, the consultant, or do they see pictures, or do they just kind of come in and how does that work? Like, cause it's a lot of dams. It's 76 places around the state. I mean, that's a couple weeks just driving around and seeing them all. Anyway.
Yeah, we would have to probably have some discussions internally about what realistically we can accomplish with the 200K.
Right.
And set that consultant on a subset of those dams.
Got it.
In an effort to try to just chip away into the future.
Yeah. So go to the high ones first. Go deal with the hardest ones first, and the ones that the emergency. It doesn't seem like you're going to get to the LMP with 200K.
Correct. And that's why we're putting a focus on the emergency
Yeah.
action plans.
Yeah.
The ones that are high and significant hazard. Those that, if they fail, would represent an impact to either life or property.
And I also saw that they got rid of some dams this past year, right?
Yeah, a good point. Thank
I
you.
saw pictures of they got rid of 3 or 4 of them.
Yes, correct. And so that is, we work with a multitude of partners to help identify and remove dams. And we're also internally working on a document, a justification document to help reduce our overall burden of just dam ownership. There's a variety of dams out there that we know are not providing any function. But again, that takes money. And the formal process that we have to go through with getting a design, an approved design and going through the formal process of a dam order in order to actually remove that dam and get it off the Vermont dam inventory is the formal list of dams statewide. So yes, we recognize that, and we're going to try to work simultaneously to remove those dams, as many as we can.
All right, thanks.
James and then Kevin?
At a very basic level, don't have to go. Just a reminder from last year, most of these dams are pretty small and they're old. There are not many new.
I mean, there are many that are small and old.
Is there very many that are less than 20 years old, or most of them older than that?
Many of them, I would say, were developed in the 50s and 60s. The department at that point in time were developing a lot of dams for increased angler opportunities, where dams were constructed for trout fishing. Many of them, to some degree of success, many of them ended up being too warm to support trout. Warm. The water was too warm to sustain trout over the course of time, even though there are what we refer to as put and take. So we put them in for the immediate satisfaction of the anglers. They can catch them in the spring before the summertime temperatures get too high. But most of them are consist of warm water fish species. And then on the flip side of that, we have a lot of dams that are associated with things like Dead Creek Wildlife Management Area where we have waterfowl production zones. So the goal was to maintain and enhance waterfowl habitat. So we have a variety of dams that serve that function.
Thank you.
Kevin?
That answered my question. Thank you.
I did something good today.
So for the emergency action plan, have you already, I just want clarity here, have you already done an assessment to figure out which of your dams are high and which are significant?
Yeah, we have roughly 12 dams, 12 to 13 dams that are rated either high or significant hazard. It gets confusing because there's another condition, there's a physical condition rating, and then there's a hazard rating.
Yeah.
So the physical condition is the actual physical description of the condition of the dam versus the hazard rating, which is more, has implications again for the potential, implications for life and property.
So for the EAPs, are you targeting those 12 high or significant, or are you just targeting the high?
I would say as many, high is probably the top order of our priority. So we would start there and then move to significant and then down the list as we go, as a more matter of priority.
Thank you. Though.
Do you want to weigh in at all?
No, I was just here to support or help if there are any questions that Tim couldn't answer. But I don't need to talk.
You don't need
Dare.
I think you did fabulous. That's my calling.
You don't dare, right?
I was clear. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, really helpful.
Can I just ask a curious question? How?
The walleye? There's walleyes.
Curious, but it's not really related to the Capitol bill. Like, how controversial is this topic of your dam removals specifically, like for folks who use them for whatever, trout fishing, waterfowl? Like, do you have constituents who's like, no, we're not doing this?
I think in some cases that could be true. And it's not always with the hunting and angling community. It can be just the local residents who have an affinity for that dam for whatever reason, nostalgia. Sometimes it's a famous a preferred swimming hole.
Sure.
They have had experiences being out in the outdoors that they just connect with that body of water. And so sometimes the local communities resist the removal of them.
Does that factor in as to when you rank, like what's first for removal?
I would say yes. We start with the easy one, but we're not afraid to engage with the public. And we have a variety of partners who have gotten very good at this and have been able to engage with the local community to help justify the removal, either ecologically or otherwise. And I think as we progress into the future, the general public has just come into an understanding of society's burden with maintaining these dams, but also just the ecological benefits in a variety of ways, whether it's fish passage or something else, aquatic connectivity. Those heightened awareness is building amongst the public.
Thank you.
I hope we weren't too hard on you or too hard on Ben.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to come before you, so thank you. And just to address, this is Mike Wachowski. He's the department's lands and administrative coordinator. And so Mike and I work together. Mike really works with Ben in the dam safety program, but we kind of split up. His focus is a lot on the fish division, and I tend to oversee staff that work with dams that are associated with wildlife management areas. So that's why both of us have come here today.
How many dams are in wildlife management? I mean, I know Dead Creek is one, but
I don't know I have that answer specifically for how many are strictly associated with wildlife management areas.
were they built specifically for the wildlife management area?
I'd say generally yes. And in fact, like something like Fairfield Swamp, it actually defines the character of the wildlife management area. So in some cases, we might have a justification for why we want to keep those dams, because it provides such a variety of benefits to wildlife and other things. So if we were to remove that dam, it would drastically alter the character of that WMA and that ecological context and that location.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. So we do have some committee time for discussions. I just think we need time as a committee to check in, because we got a lot of moving pieces, and I think one of what was recommended yesterday was to put up on the board all of our little subgroups.
It could be there.
Somebody could get up with a marker.
I'm gonna
And
get
you're
going.
headed. Good
I'm out.
luck.
See it.
Good luck. Keep us posted, huh?
Bye, Sean.
Hopefully tomorrow.
Hopefully tomorrow. If not, you can always zoom in and not have the camera on.
Safe, buddy.
Take care of that face, ugly.
See you, Sean.
Regarding 294
We're not there.
commissary, we're just talking about myself and Kevin had been charged with getting some information last year. And I did, well, Haley Summer was in here yesterday. I think Chris was coming. But we just need some more information. So we emailed, requested yesterday, and I asked for it verbally. So hopefully we can specifically get the accounting, the exact accounting for how commissary funds are dispensed. And then the second question is who is empowered to make those decisions and at what level? You know, these earlier testimony indicated that individuals in the correctional facilities had some influence in that, and we just haven't got enough testimony to really make a determination. But
So for the subcommittees on commissary is Joe and Kevin. And then for the telecommunication piece is Will and Sean. And that is together H 294.
Well, unless we're gonna get into it.
Get into what?
Waivers.
That's the Troy committee.
One side, get it right down.
committee of one.
I can be pragmatic on it.
That's gonna get more tags.
I am.
Challenge him to only accept.
We're trying to figure out who the rest of the people were.
Gina? Who was
Gina
the-
was not, and I know who wasn't. It was not Gina, Mary, Joe, Kevin. But I'm not sure if it was Sean or if it was Connor. I think it was Sean. I believe was the third person.
Sean's on a lot of them. And then why don't you put Sean with a question mark? I'll work through. Okay,
We've got the budget one, the five of us.
yeah, you got the budget one. General fund budget. So that one is Connor, Mary, Brian, Joe, Kevin.
And at this stage on that, I think we were going to reach out to BGS and DOC to see if we could get their materials ahead of time so we could start formulating the
Yeah, my
questions.
folder there.
Yeah, that's last session, right? So,
Well, it doesn't matter, it's the
Yeah.
structure of how they're designed.
yeah,
So that shouldn't change. Just to give you some background in terms of what moving pieces are within BGS.
no, that's helpful. Yeah.
Is there still the subcommittees on drinking water and wastewater stuff? No, that disbanded.
And for what it's worth, repo is going to.
In repo,
Then the right region.
you should.
Okay.
That is Mary, Brian, and Troy.
Very Kobe, no.
Hey,
I was gonna say, how could I forget?
I know.
Where's the ball playing?
I think that's it, isn't it?
Under announced in the colors.
Really? I couldn't remember. My uncles loved it, yeah.
Yep, our most recent rule breaker for replying to the entire membership is the member from Thetford Center.
So our liaison to approps, our liaison to approps for BGS is Gina.
Definitely.
I was thinking that too much Gal City, I'm sorry.
She,
I'm gonna misspell.
LIA,
I know there's another I in
Lee,
Yeah.
SION, isn't it?
there. Okay, that's how I would have spelled it. Just wanted to make sure.
And it's for the liaison to approps, BGS, for the BGS piece, for their budget is Gina. And then for the DOC budget is Kevin and Sean. And just for information on the appropriations side, the person who takes care of the BGS budget is Wayne LaRoche. And the person on the prop side that takes care of DOC's budget is Trevor Squirrel. That's just who they have to hook up with.
No,
He's BGS. And Trevor Squirrel is DOC.
Like the animal.
Yep, it is.
I'm gonna spell all sorts of things.
I know you don't want to get your
No, thank you, yeah.
He is.
It's like, I'm not getting there.
Sad.
And then we've got some folks who are working on the victim notification with Troy. We got Kevin and Sean and Mary, their victim notification subcommittee.
I sent that out yesterday, didn't I?
I think you did.
Get my notes yesterday.
You send those out today?
The definition of working
Hey, Troy.
is a good question in my mind on times. I don't know what we're working on. We're waiting to hear what success that.
I didn't hear the first part of your
We
question.
got the report, we got the task force report that Sean has some real concerns about the mirror. Are what Troy sent out in terms of our action plan or questions we need to ask going forward. So I've asked you and Sean and Mary to sit down with Troy and go through Troy's document. And you had that Zoom meeting with Murad, which then gives some indication to the direction that they're going.
He was on there.
It was Mary and Sean, because Kevin was not available. The task force is still working, I believe, until the middle of February.
And they had indicated that's their authorized time.
Yeah.
It's in February.
So they'll be out with something finalized, but Troy had a really good synopsis after the group came in here and testified the second week of the session. It wasn't last week, it was the week before, about questions that we need to pursue and strategy going forward. And Sean, over the weekend, read the draft report of the task force, victim notification. He had a lot of questions. So I sent to Sean Troy's document. And Sean said, Troy and he are on the same page. And that's when I thought, well, maybe the working group work with Troy, and then that will help the whole committee on how to go forward.
I need to write anything else down, dates for when we need to do things by, et cetera.
Just so everybody knows. Okay. So the next thing I want to work on, Troy developed a form, Community College of Vermont. With DOC, you set up a letter of recommendation, a letter of support. He's sending it out.
You do one for everybody, Kitty, just in case we want to do edits.
Want to do a paper copy? So it's just, okay.
Yeah, sure.
Because it's also for Commerce Committee, and I sent it to the chair of Commerce Committee. He seems to be supportive of it. He's going to bring it before his committee. So it's if the two committees can send along this.
I did ask Brian from CCV, like, what's a good timeline on this? And just, let me see what he said. I can't remember. Did I send you that one?
Me
Yeah.
and see it.
I asked, like, when would you need something like this? He says, I think it would be helpful most any time before the end of February, so there is some breathing room. Our proposal is scheduled to be discussed at an Ascendium board meeting on April 4th. I believe materials go to the board members a month prior, and it would be ideal to have packed with those materials in early March. So, but we're ahead of the curve.
Wait for those copies. The other thing too, this just came to mind. Do we want to get some testimony in terms of what they're going to do with upgrading their Wi-Fi? We didn't get the money from the broadband group.
Yep.
Because we promised that that would be a piece of it.
And get the money, even though we sent a letter of support.
Yeah, I've been curious about that, and so is Chris Morrow, who had worked with me and Kevin.
Is there any sort of second chance available for us on
Could you just be the closest, right? Yeah.
Maybe we have a different plan. But we're not gonna know if we don't have them come and talk to us.
So we can see if we can schedule that. Also, this afternoon, we have a wide open 2:00. They cancel because they're sick. So we don't have anything scheduled from 2 to 3:30.
Cribbage. There is a cribbage board here. They can accommodate two to
What
six.
we do?
players.
It's not quite wiffle season, so it's.
Well, can I
Right here.
give an update?
It will be coming later, you're right.
What, two?
On 294,
You want to do that?
just about like who I've reached out to that's,
You want to do that at 2:00?
we can do that too.
For 90 minutes.
We gotta fill in 90 minutes.
Maybe 5 minutes.
That is
Um,
45 seconds.
You're looking for Julio's working group?
No, no, I've got a dinner at 6 and I gotta drive home. That would be very. I'm sleeping at CX News tomorrow morning.
Sure. That's been done, it's been done.
If I may, we are live.
Or any other finest stuff.
I have an idea just based on conversations. Maybe we could have a brief committee meeting and just chat about not policy,
About what?
not policy. Like different concerns people may have, which doesn't need to be on here.
I do have a few things I could bring up.
Concerns about committee stuff,
Yeah, just, yeah.
but you want to do that not on YouTube, right?
Exactly.
No, you don't need to.
We don't need
policy.
Right.
Yeah, that's smarter. Thank you.
Well, that one.
Oh, great. I just didn't do it. So.
So Tate, one thing we were talking about possibly for schedule next week is something with DOC and their Wi-Fi, and they didn't get the money last year that they were hoping for.
Yeah.
So it's sort of what their plan is going forward. Okay.
Disappointing all the positions or projects that we say we're going to do or the legislature says they're going to do, and then it never happens.
Okay. Corey, you want to walk us through this?
Yeah, I'll let you read it. It really is just, as CCV seeks funding outside of the general fund to continue their work that is proving to be incredibly worthwhile for the community. I came away with that meeting, as I always do when I hear about their work, appreciative and grateful. And I asked in our joint meeting if a letter such as this might be helpful as they're seeking the grant. They indicated, Brian responded back to me and indicated that it would be, so this is what I drafted.
Do they know across the hall?
Yeah, she shared it with me.
Oh, good.
I would want to probably format this a little differently so that it fits on. Letterhead, better, but
That's accurate, over 10% of census population is enrolled in some sort of CCV program.
based on their testing.
Yes, what they said.
This proposed center is just for the post-secondary stuff.
CCV specific, so yeah, right?
Yes. I guess that's sort of what I'm asking. Yeah. Yeah,
They
okay.
don't have any community high school or
Right.
yeah, I guess technically CCV does that bridge program, but that's not, this is all in support of an associate's degree.
Yep. Okay.
And just for my signature, if you can put an A for the middle initial,
Right, oh, okay.
because there's the judge who's Mary Morris as well, so I always define it by A, my middle initial.
The other me is a murderer, so you're lucky.
Yeah, I got a drug dealer, so that's the
I
foundation.
get some from Mayo.
I see.
Another you?
I hope that it's not with the decisions.
Thanks for doing this.
It's always fun.
Thank God I've not been sent anything, because who knows what I'd be sent. I'd be in the custody of DOC if that happened.
Do you have any idea about how large the grant?
I don't remember, did they talk about the size of the grant? I don't remember. It was a worthy grant though.
Call it just a
I
minute.
don't remember.
Any changes? Did folks recommend any changes?
Is that easy?
I'm fine with it.
Yes, it's good.
Same with boarding.
Huge role.
Get out of it that easy.
Do this with you.
Yeah.
That's the widest this committee's
You didn't
ever.
bury anything in
And by the way, we should be paying them.
You gotta make sure you didn't put anything. in.
That's what
Peanuts.
that's what I was
Yeah.
missing when I just read it.
I say,
was-
Troy, I trust you.
You want to have a work study program?
So you're gonna format it, put it on letterhead, and then bring it to everybody.
Do you think we need to put our names and signature and things like that?
I think because it's from people all over the state,
Yeah,
I think it's important for them to see all the people engaged in it. Maybe that'll get them to move on it.
okay.
I think that's right.
22 people.
Right. And from all, parts of the state. I think that would, work great.
And a lot of the
Political persuasions, liberals like kiss out.
Alice, will you just get a sense from Mark if they're all on board with this?
He's gonna bring it, he thought it was a good letter, he's bring it before him, he didn't see a problem, I'll double check.
I can get a paper copy formatted that we can then scan and send to Brian.
Yeah,
And I can get him a paper copy. too.
that works, I'll check with Mike.
No edits. Look at that. I said no edits.
I know, and we,
Except for my stupid A.
Yeah, I'm not complacent. I read it. Don't really see.
You're
And I
too damn
can,
good
I can
for
make
it.
up some false concerns. I just don't see. It's a fairly short correspondence,
It is.
and it's a sensible program.
straightforward,
All right.
be more detailed if you're asking for $10 million, but you're not, so.
But yes, to the earlier point, the Wi-Fi thing is an impediment, right?
so I'll check with Mike, and then if it's a go with that committee, we'll just do it. That's good.
Yep.
I also had a conversation with Martin Milan and, Karen on 540. Was the reparative program.
Yeah, I also had no audits.
I know. I told them, I said, well, it seemed pretty simple. They are gonna do a drive-by. They're not gonna formally get the bill, but they're gonna do a drive-by probably next week. They're gonna get Judge Zone, and maybe some folks from the CJCs that served on the working group. I said it was unanimous from the working group. This is the language that they all approved. I said, we're not thinking of amending anything. It's a straightforward, but it does create a sentence. And it does ask the judiciary to consider new factors placing someone in that program. So they're gonna do a drive-by. So we'll hold off on it until Kevin. They're not gonna physically get the bill, it stays here,
Oh,
but they're gonna look at the bill.
okay.
That's a drive, that's a term we use, drive-by.
Not official.
Before we vote it out. I don't wanna vote it out, and get surprised on the floor.
I got you.
Yeah.
Because it is creating a it's, creating a new sentence. For that, so that's on, that one should be a go. Is there anyone in particular who would be interested in reporting that bill?
You put notes yesterday.
You'd be interested in doing it? Okay. You can do some work on it in the intro. Right.
Get you early in the season while you're still energetic.
And I spoke to Hillary yesterday. She is going to do a new draft on the roll board one to kind of incorporate some of the testimony we've received. So we can schedule her next week, but she asked, she's coming on Tuesday. So there's that. I'm still waiting from Commissioner Murad for information on the expansion of support to the MOUD program within correctional facilities. That's the governor's initiative, the accountability report, how that gets spread out through all of DOC. He's supposed to send that to me, what the plan is for the therapy and behavioral support, so that Katie McLean can go through H32 and see what needs to be updated, see what new language needs to be added to comply with, have the law comply with state practice. But I'm waiting for that, Commissioner Murad, because that's an initiative from the governor's office to do this. So we have to make sure that the law tracks for that.
Just reliability issues if we don't.
And there was something, oh, driver's license. I spoke to Richie Westman this morning. And DOC, this is where they wanted to expand. Remember, I sent it out to you folks. It's in the Senate. Miscellaneous DMV. Yeah, I sent it out to you folks last week, Friday. There's total language and a whole new section that deals with any individual who's incarcerated would have access to blah, blah, blah. So Senate Transportation's taking testimony this week from DOC on that. We're gonna hear from Damien tomorrow, I believe. I believe it's tomorrow. Yes. At 1 o'clock. And he'll go over the language that DMV is proposing, but it is connected with H 549, where we have the driver's license for detainees.
Did you all see the news last night? Where our former commissioner of DOC is.
Did we talk about it yesterday?
Oh, I wasn't.
Oh, yeah, you will.
Are you sure?
So we got to coordinate, one thing that Richie was thinking is if we have language that we we add that language to 549, but they will also add that same language to their miscellaneous DMV bill. It'll be in two places. I don't know where we're headed with that, but that's the thinking right now. You're confused.
Have we had any information on the cost associated with non-driver's license?
$3.30 and AOT pays it,
Not counting staff time.
right? That's an agreement that they've worked up since
Really?
2019.
Did they testify?
Were you here? that
Or you-
day?
I don't think
May have
you-
gone,
I think he was.
$3.40?
30.
Yeah.
It's the actual cost of the
And then
ID.
include the staff time that they put into the labor behind it, the
So-
postage, so it's probably.
That doesn't sound credible to me to issue an official government ID without some kind of research to verify the
So the
information.
research is done by DOC
Well-
and they submit all the documents. They submit the birth certificates, and
documents.
social security numbers, any documents to verify who they are.
They do all the legwork.
Well, one thing that came up there that's point is that Gina actually pointed out and asked DOC why they can't accept their own records. You know, obviously DOC knows who they have incarcerated. I would hope, you know,
They should.
of course they do. So why can't that be used as the baseline to create a non-real ID? Instead of running around looking for birth certificates.
Well, you're tied into the federal requirements.
Yeah.
But for a real ID.
So one thing for Kevin, real quick, because I'm not smart enough to remember this,
Yeah, yeah.
ask,
That's what language into it.
Tate,
Ellie.
you know, he can tell you on the agenda, or you can look online at what agendas, look up and watch the testimony that we got on that particular subject on YouTube. And then it will answer some of the more detailed questions. I'm not saying it will answer every question, but
Not sure.
let's start there.
Yeah, that's really the only one I have, because,
Doesn't do this.
It's your non-driver's ID. It's not a driver's
no, I
license.
understand.
Yeah, and it's not.
I'm not trying to muddy up the waters, but if they don't have a birth certificate and if they don't have a social security number,
They talked about that.
okay.
That's where DOC works to get all the information, and then they submit that to DMV. But DOC verifies with the person.
But the early question, Kevin, the $3 and some odd cent figure is what they actually, DMV pays the vendor to create one of these.
It's not the driver's license. It's
Fine,
just-
either way, that's.
If an inmate wants to have a driver's license, then they pay for it, like we do. For that, but there is language in that DMV
It's real.
that looks to have it as the real ID, non-driver ID. So there is language, so we'll have to get into that, because it's all driven in what's required.
And you can get on the phone.
You're right.
So I can't think of anything else that we
I
have
can't.
dangling out there. Do we have anything else?
We're gonna
dangling?
DOC report in response to the ice stuff, right? Is that this week or? no?
No.
Tomorrow, okay.
So then we're trying to get Commissioner Farrell in to talk about the inventory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because BGS submitted to
ACCD?
well, it's Housing and Community Development Department, right? Housing and Community Development. And Commissioner Farrell's the head of that. So BGS doesn't know what happened to the information. They just submitted it. So it's up to Housing and Community Development to analyze it.
Sure.
So, and I heard that Commissioner Manoli was willing to come in along with Commissioner Farrell. So we're gonna schedule that. And I'd like to kick out age 50 at some point, get that puppy out of here.
Yeah.
Get rid of it.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you.
So I don't have anything else. Anybody else take an early
No.
lunch?
Early lunch?
Or did we figure
I think we
out-
don't know is rolling times, just roll it.
I think we figured some.
Over lunch, you think about the rest.
So let's go off if you, we're back here at 1 o'clock.